The Beauty of Aging, a Buddhist guide to finding wisdom, grace, and true fulfillment. The fear of being forgotten and the gift of impermanence. Imagine standing by a flowing river. You watch as the water moves endlessly, never clinging to any single drop, yet each drop plays its part in shaping the journey. Life, too, is like this river, constantly changing, always flowing forward. As we age, one of our greatest fears is the idea of being forgotten. We may ask ourselves, what will remain when I am gone? Will my name, my work, and my presence still hold meaning? Society often teaches us to chase permanence, to leave behind a legacy that endures beyond our years. But in Buddhism, there is a liberating truth that challenges this notion: everything is impermanent, and rather than fearing this reality, we can embrace it. The beauty of life does not lie in being remembered forever, but in the love we give, the wisdom we share, and the kindness we offer in each moment. Our impact is not measured by how long our name lingers, but by the ripples of compassion and presence that extend far beyond our physical existence. Through the lens of Buddhist wisdom, we will explore how embracing impermanence rather than resisting it allows us to live more fully, love more deeply, and find peace in the natural flow of life. 1. Embracing the reality of being forgotten, a Buddhist perspective on impermanence. Aging is often seen as a process filled with loss and sorrow, particularly when we think about the idea of being forgotten. As time passes, people we love, places we cherish, and even the work we do can fade away. But what if the fear of being forgotten isn't something to fear, but something to embrace? What if our life's meaning isn't tied to the permanence of our name or fame, but rather the moments we experience and the kindness we? In Buddhist philosophy, there is a profound truth that can help shift our perspective on this: everything is impermanent. Impermanence, or the concept that all things are in a constant state of flux, is one of the foundational teachings of the Buddha. The Buddha taught that suffering arises when we resist the natural flow of change. In our modern world, we often spend so much energy trying to freeze moments in time, trying to hold on to people and things, and perhaps most painfully, trying to make sure we are remembered. However, this desire to cling to permanence is what creates the most suffering. Embracing the flow of life and accepting that we will be forgotten can liberate us from the heavy weight of expectation. The Buddhist teaching on impermanence and no self. To understand this more deeply, we need to explore the Buddhist concept of anatta, no self, and impermanence. Anatta refers to the idea that there is no permanent, unchanging self. Our identity, our sense of I, is fluid and constantly changing. This contrasts sharply with the way many of us view ourselves in daily life. We tend to think of ourselves as fixed, solid beings. We like to believe that our thoughts, our actions, and even our names are somehow permanent, but Buddhism teaches us otherwise. Just as waves rise and fall in the ocean, so too do our lives come and go, leaving ripples in the vast ocean of existence. Buddhism invites us to accept that change is not to be feared but to be welcomed. When we accept the inevitability of change, we free ourselves from attachment. We begin to live in a way that is full and present, rather than constantly worrying about what we will leave behind. One of the most liberating aspects of this teaching is that it shifts our focus from what will be remembered after we are gone, to how we live in the present moment. Instead of striving for a legacy based on fame or recognition, we can focus on the quality of our actions and their impact on the people around us. This perspective is encapsulated in the famous Buddhist teaching, "The river does not cling to its water, it just flows," reminding us that it is not the name we leave behind that matters, but the actions we take and the kindness we share. The illusion of legacy. Many of us live with a deep desire to leave a lasting legacy. We want our names to be remembered, to make a difference that endures through time. However, Buddhism offers us a different way to view legacy. Instead of focusing on being remembered, we are encouraged to focus on the present moment, living our lives with intention and mindfulness. In doing so, we create ripples that will continue to affect the world long after we are gone. There is a Zen story that beautifully illustrates this idea. A wise monk lived in a remote mountain temple. Over the decades, many villagers sought his guidance, and he became known for his wisdom and kindness. One day, a young disciple asked him, "Master, does it not sadden you that when you pass away, people will forget your name?" The old monk smiled and pointed to a river flowing by the temple. "Tell me, where is the water that was here yesterday?" The disciple hesitated, unsure of the answer. "It has flowed on," the monk said. "Yet the river remains." The lesson was clear: it is not the name or the person that remains, but the effect of their actions, the current of their kindness, that endures. Just like the river, which continues to flow even as the water changes, our kindness, wisdom, and love live on through the people whose lives we touch. The monk's legacy wasn't in being remembered but in the ripple effect his actions had on others. A personal reflection, the true meaning of legacy. This teaching on impermanence and the idea of being forgotten is something I have personally come to appreciate more deeply as I've grown older. In my early years, I too harbored a strong desire to be remembered, to make a mark on the world that would last beyond my own lifetime. However, as I began to study the Buddhist teachings and apply them to my own life, I realized that this desire to be remembered was rooted in a fear of insignificance. I was afraid that if my name didn't endure, my life would have been meaningless. But the more I explored the teachings on impermanence, the more I understood that the true meaning of life isn't in clinging to a legacy, but in the way we live each moment. A legacy isn't about what people remember about us, but about how we make others feel, how we affect the world through our actions, and the love we share. I have learned to focus on living with intention, mindfulness, and kindness, rather than seeking recognition. A story of letting go. Let me share a story that illustrates this point and shows the beauty of embracing impermanence. There was a woman in her late 70s who had spent her life caring for others. She had raised children, taught students, and volunteered in her community. Her home was filled with photographs of family members, old friends, and mementos from her many years of service. One day, she visited a local temple and asked the resident monk about the meaning of life as she aged. She said, "I look in the mirror and I no longer recognize the person I once was. My face has changed, my body has aged, and I wonder if I have made any lasting impact." The monk smiled at her and said, "You ask about leaving a legacy, but think of the river that passes through this temple. The river doesn't ask if it will be remembered. It flows, and in its flowing, it nourishes the earth. It sustains life, even though its water will never remain the same. Your life has been like that river. You've given love, wisdom, and kindness, and those ripples continue to touch the lives of those around you. The woman was deeply moved by this teaching. She began to realize that her true legacy wasn't about being remembered by name, but in the impact she had on the hearts of others. As she embraced the changes in her body and her life, she let go of the need for recognition and began to live more fully in the present moment. She found peace in knowing that her actions, like the river, would continue to flow, long after she was gone. Conclusion: living with grace and acceptance. In conclusion, the Buddhist teaching on impermanence offers us a powerful way to live with grace and acceptance. Rather than focusing on being remembered, we can focus on living with intention, kindness, and mindfulness. The true legacy we leave behind is not in the fame or recognition we may gain, but in the positive impact we have on the people and world around us. When we stop worrying about being remembered, we free ourselves from the fear of being forgotten and can instead embrace the natural flow of life. Like the river that flows and nourishes the earth, we can live fully in each moment, knowing that our actions and kindness will leave ripples that last beyond our lifetimes. Aging, then, becomes a process not of loss, but of transformation, transforming ourselves into beings of greater wisdom, love, and compassion. Let us not cling to the illusion of permanence but instead celebrate the beauty of impermanence, knowing that it is in the flow of life that we truly find peace and fulfillment. 2. Befriending your aging body, a path to acceptance and grace. Aging is an inevitable part of life that affects all of us, regardless of how we feel about it or how much we try to resist it. As we grow older, our bodies undergo changes that may sometimes feel like betrayals. We can no longer run up the stairs as we once did, and our bodies may protest even with the simplest of movements. However, rather than viewing these changes as a betrayal, we can learn to see them as an opportunity for deeper wisdom, gratitude, and grace. The body, after all, is a faithful companion that has carried us through the ups and downs of life, from the exuberance of childhood to the challenges of adulthood. It deserves our respect and care, especially as it grows older. Buddhism offers us profound insights into aging and the body, teaching us to accept the inevitable changes with mindfulness and compassion. Instead of fighting the natural process of aging, we are encouraged to befriend our bodies, appreciate the lessons they bring, and adapt gracefully to the changes they undergo. This journey is not about resisting or wishing for a return to youth, but about understanding that our bodies have served us well and continue to have purpose and value, even as they change. The Buddhist perspective on the body. Buddhism teaches us that everything in life is impermanent, including our bodies. The Buddhist teachings on impermanence, anicca, remind us that all things, including our physical form, are subject to change. This truth can be difficult to accept, especially when it comes to our bodies. In youth, we may take our strength and vitality for granted, but as we age, we come face to face with the reality that our bodies will not stay the same. Instead of viewing this as a tragedy, Buddhism encourages us to see it as part of the natural flow of life. One of the key teachings of Buddhism that helps us navigate the process of aging is the concept of non-attachment. We are encouraged to detach from our attachment to youth, beauty, and physical perfection. Our bodies are not permanent, and they are not who we truly are. They are vehicles that carry us through life, but they do not define us. When we learn to let go of the attachment to our physical form, we free ourselves from the suffering that comes with aging. The Buddhist teachings on the 5 skandhas, the 5 aggregates of existence, also help us understand the impermanent nature of our bodies. These aggregates form sensation, perception, mental formations, and consciousness make up our existence. The physical body is just one aspect of who we are. As our body changes with age, it is important to remember that it is only one part of our whole being. We are not our bodies, we are much more than that. By practicing mindfulness and focusing on the present moment, we can cultivate an appreciation for our bodies as they are now, rather than lamenting what they used to be. This doesn't mean we ignore the physical changes or stop taking care of our bodies. Instead, we approach our aging bodies with compassion and gratitude, recognizing their role in our lives. Adapting with grace. One of the most powerful aspects of aging is the opportunity it gives us to develop wisdom and grace. As our bodies change, we are presented with a choice. We can either resist the changes and feel frustrated by them, or we can adapt to them with acceptance and grace. Embracing the changes in our bodies requires a shift in perspective. Instead of seeing aging as a decline, we can view it as a natural process that brings with it valuable lessons and deeper insights. Aging is a reminder to slow down and become more mindful of our bodies. We may no longer be able to do the things we once did with ease, but we can still find ways to move and care for our bodies that honor where we are in life. This might mean adopting gentler forms of exercise, such as yoga or tai chi, that support flexibility and strength without overexerting ourselves. It may also mean paying more attention to nutrition and rest, taking the time to nurture our bodies in ways that support their health and longevity. Grace in aging is also about being patient with ourselves. We are all too familiar with the societal pressure to remain young, fit, and attractive, but true grace comes when we let go of these external expectations and embrace who we are now. The process of aging invites us to cultivate an inner beauty that comes from wisdom, self-acceptance, and compassion for ourselves and others. A personal reflection on aging gracefully. As I reflect on my own journey, I realize that the process of aging has brought many challenges, but it has also offered me valuable insights. In my younger years, I took my health for granted. I was active and strong, and I didn't give much thought to the future. However, as I've gotten older, I've become more aware of the changes in my body aches and pains that weren't there before, a slower metabolism, and the gradual loss of energy that comes with age. At first, these changes were difficult to accept. I found myself comparing my present self to the person I used to be, feeling frustrated and disappointed that my body no longer functioned in the same way. But over time, I began to shift my perspective. I started to see my aging body not as something to resist, but as a companion that had carried me through life's journey. My body had been there for me during the triumphs and trials of life, and it deserved my gratitude and respect. I also began to appreciate the wisdom that comes with age. As I grew older, I realized that my body no longer needed to be the center of my attention. It was the experiences, relationships, and inner growth that truly defined me. Rather than striving to hold onto the physical vitality of my youth, I embraced the opportunity to care for my body in new, more mindful ways. I focused on nourishing my body with healthy foods, engaging in gentle exercise, and practicing relaxation techniques that help me stay balanced and centered. Through this process, I've come to understand that aging doesn't mean losing value. Instead, it means evolving and adapting with grace. Our bodies may change, but we can still find purpose and joy in taking care of ourselves, living fully in the present moment, and nurturing our minds and spirits. Our value doesn't lie in our appearance or physical capabilities, but in the love, wisdom, and kindness we offer to the world. A story of transformation: the monk and the aging pot. To further illustrate the power of adapting with grace to an aging body, let me share a story from Buddhist tradition. There was once an elderly monk who had spent many years of his life in service to others. In his younger years, he was strong and capable, carrying heavy water buckets from the river to his temple without much effort. But as he aged, his strength diminished, and he found it difficult to perform the tasks that had once come easily to him. One day, frustrated by his physical limitations, he went to his teacher and asked, "Why does my body fail me now? It once obeyed my every command, but now it betrays me." The teacher listened patiently and then handed the monk a cracked clay pot. "This pot," the teacher said, "used to hold water perfectly. But now, it leaks. Does that make it useless?" The monk replied, "No, it still holds some water." The teacher smiled and said, "Exactly. The pot may not be as it once was, but it still has purpose. The water that escapes nourishes the earth. Even in its imperfection, it still serves." The monk realized that, like the pot, his body had changed, but it still had value and purpose. He understood that aging was not about losing usefulness but about finding new ways to serve and contribute. He began to approach his aging body with gratitude and compassion, recognizing that it had served him faithfully for many years. Conclusion: embrace your aging body with gratitude. In conclusion, aging is not something to fear or resist, but something to embrace with gratitude and grace. Our bodies are faithful companions that have carried us through every stage of life. Rather than lamenting their changes, we should learn to appreciate the lessons they bring and adapt to them with mindfulness and compassion. Buddhism teaches us that everything in life is impermanent, including our bodies. By accepting this truth and letting go of our attachment to physical perfection, we can cultivate an inner peace and grace that transcends the limitations of aging. Our value is not defined by our appearance or physical abilities, but by the love, wisdom, and kindness we share with others. As we age, we have the opportunity to deepen our connection with ourselves and the world around us. By caring for our bodies with gratitude and respect, we can continue to live fully, embracing each moment with grace and wisdom. Aging is not a decline, but a transformation, a chance to evolve into the best version of ourselves. Let us befriend our aging bodies, honor them for all they have done, and approach the future with an open heart and a spirit of acceptance. 3. The impermanence of relationships, embracing change and open hearts. As we journey through life, one truth becomes clearer with time: people come and go. The friends we cherish, the family members we rely on, and even the partners we hold dear are not immune to the ebb and flow of life. In many ways, this realization can be heartbreaking. We invest so much of ourselves in relationships, building bonds with others based on shared experiences, love, and mutual respect. Yet, as we age and evolve, those relationships sometimes change or even fade away. While it can be painful to witness, Buddhism teaches us that this is simply part of the natural course of life. Buddhism, with its deep understanding of impermanence, anicca, reminds us that everything in existence is transient, and that includes our relationships. People come into our lives for various reasons, and as time moves forward, their roles in our personal story evolve, sometimes leading them to drift away. This understanding is not meant to cause despair but to provide clarity, peace, and acceptance. We are reminded that, just like everything else in life, relationships are not permanent fixtures. They evolve, shift, and sometimes fade, and that is entirely natural. Instead of mourning the relationships that have changed or ended, we are encouraged to cherish those who remain. Furthermore, Buddhism encourages us to remain open to new connections, allowing the flow of life to bring new people and experiences into our lives. Letting go of the attachment to relationships that no longer serve us opens the door to new possibilities, deeper connections, and greater inner peace. Understanding impermanence in relationships. Buddhism's teaching on impermanence is one of the most profound and liberating aspects of its philosophy. The Buddha taught that suffering arises when we resist change. We often get attached to people, things, or even specific outcomes, believing they will last forever. However, as we age, it becomes increasingly apparent that nothing in life remains the same, not our bodies, not our situations, and certainly not our relationships. The Buddha's teachings on anicca, or impermanence, show us that everything in life is subject to change. Just as our bodies age, so do the people around us. Relationships evolve, people grow, and sometimes they grow apart. This does not diminish the value of the connections we have had, rather, it invites us to let go of the attachment to permanence and to embrace the fluid nature of life. It's important to realize that people enter our lives for different reasons, and sometimes, their roles are meant to change or end. People's paths may diverge, but this doesn't mean that the relationship was any less meaningful. In fact, it means that we have been blessed with that relationship for a particular period of time. Buddhist teachings offer a unique way of reframing our relationships by encouraging us to practice non-attachment. This does not mean that we stop loving or caring for the people in our lives, but rather that we accept the fluid nature of relationships and let go of the need to control or hold on to them. When we embrace this non-attachment, we can appreciate the time we had with someone and allow their presence to enrich our lives, even if their journey leads them away from us. The natural flow of relationships. The natural flow of relationships can be likened to the movement of water in a river. As the water flows, some drops travel together, while others part ways, carried along by the current. This is a beautiful metaphor for the people who come into and leave our lives. Just as the river does not cling to any particular drop of water, we must learn not to cling to people. They come into our lives when we need them, and they leave when their role in our journey has been fulfilled. This is where many of us find difficulty. We form deep attachments to people and believe that relationships should last forever. The thought of losing a friend or loved one can be overwhelming. However, by recognizing the impermanent nature of relationships, we can allow ourselves to experience them more fully, without the burden of attachment. This understanding also allows us to make peace with the changes in our relationships, whether they are the result of distance, time, or personal growth. We can let go of the idea that relationships are static and accept that they may evolve. This doesn't make them any less valuable, it simply means that the relationship has served its purpose, and we can appreciate what it brought us in the moment, while remaining open to the next phase of our lives. A personal reflection on losing relationships. As I reflect on my own life and the relationships I've experienced, I have come to understand the natural ebb and flow of connections. I have had friends who, over time, have drifted away, some because of differing life paths, others because of a shift in personal priorities. At first, I found it difficult to accept that people I had once been so close to were no longer a significant part of my life. There was a part of me that wanted to hold on to those relationships, to force them to remain the same. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized that these relationships, as they were, had run their course. What helped me through this period of change was embracing the Buddhist principle of impermanence. I had to remind myself that nothing lasts forever, and that is okay. It didn't mean the love, support, or joy I had shared with these people was any less real. It simply meant that their roles in my life had changed, and it was time for me to let go. Interestingly, as I made peace with the departure of these relationships, I found new connections forming in my life, relationships that were more aligned with who I had become. I discovered that, when I let go of the old, space was created for new and meaningful connections to emerge. These new relationships brought different lessons, perspectives, and experiences that enriched my life in ways I had never anticipated. This process of letting go and allowing space for new people has been transformative for me. It taught me to cherish the time I spent with people, even if that time was limited, and to appreciate the moments we shared. I have also learned to remain open to the new relationships that come my way, knowing that they will bring fresh insights and joy into my life. A story of change, the river of relationships. Let me share a story that beautifully illustrates the impermanence of relationships and how to embrace this natural flow. In a small village, there was an old woman who had been a close friend of a man named Taro for many years. They had been through many life events together, from raising children to losing loved ones. For decades, they shared meals, laughter, and tears, always there for each other, no matter what. One day, Taro came to the old woman, saying that he was planning to move to a different village to live with his children. He would be leaving behind the home they had shared for so long. The old woman, though saddened, smiled and said, "Taro, our relationship has always been like the river. The river that has flowed beside us has seen so many drops come and go. Sometimes the water flows together, sometimes it parts, but the river always remains. Just because you are leaving doesn't mean that our friendship has ended. It simply means our paths are parting, like the river's water that flows in different directions." Taro, touched by the wisdom of the old woman, understood. He realized that their friendship had served its purpose in that moment, and while they would not walk the same path anymore, the bond they shared would remain in their hearts forever. The story of Taro and the old woman reflects the truth that relationships evolve and change. It teaches us that it is natural for people to come and go, and that this should not be feared or resented, but embraced. We must cherish the time we have with those we love, and let go when it is time to let go. Just as the river flows and carries with it the water that has moved on, we too can carry the memories and love of past relationships with us, while remaining open to new connections that will enrich our lives in different ways. Conclusion: cherish the present and welcome the future. In conclusion, the impermanence of relationships is a central teaching in Buddhism that offers us profound insights into the nature of life. Relationships are not meant to last forever, but they do have deep value in the time they exist. We are invited to cherish the people who remain in our lives and to let go of those who are no longer meant to be part of our journey. By embracing the impermanence of relationships, we open ourselves up to new possibilities and connections, allowing life to flow as it naturally does. When we accept that people will drift away, we find peace in the transient nature of human connections. We learn to treasure the moments we share with others, without clinging to them. And most importantly, we remain open to new relationships that will bring joy, wisdom, and companionship in the future. Life is a journey of meeting people, learning from them, and growing together. Each relationship, whether short or long, contributes to our evolution as individuals and as part of the interconnected web of life. Embrace the ebb and flow of relationships, knowing that each encounter adds meaning to our lives, even if it is brief. 4. Embracing aging as a gift, a Buddhist perspective on true beauty. Aging is often seen as an inevitable decline, a process to be resisted, slowed, or even reversed. In today's culture, youth is glorified, and beauty is often defined by smooth skin, vibrant energy, and a wrinkle-free appearance. However, in Buddhist philosophy, aging is not a curse but a profound gift. It offers an opportunity for wisdom, transformation, and a deeper sense of self. True beauty does not fade with time; instead, it evolves, revealing qualities far more valuable than physical perfection. The illusion of youth and the impermanence of life. In Buddhism, one of the core teachings is anicca, or impermanence. Everything in life changes: our bodies, our relationships, and even our thoughts. Youth is fleeting, and clinging to it only creates suffering, dukkha. If we measure beauty solely by external appearance, we set ourselves up for inevitable disappointment as time progresses. However, when we embrace impermanence, we free ourselves from this suffering and begin to appreciate aging as a natural and necessary process. Consider the story of Visakha, a devout female disciple of the Buddha. She was renowned for her great beauty in her youth, but as she aged, she was never distressed about losing her youthful charm. When someone commented on her wrinkles and gray hair, she simply smiled and said, "Just as the moon does not diminish in beauty when it changes phases, so too does the wisdom gained over time enhance my life, rather than detract from it." This perspective reflects the Buddhist approach to aging not as a loss, but as a transformation. True beauty lies in wisdom, presence, and kindness. Modern society conditions us to seek validation through physical appearance. But what happens when external beauty fades? According to Buddhist wisdom, sati, mindfulness, and prajna, wisdom, create an inner radiance that far surpasses youthful beauty. People who have cultivated mindfulness and kindness throughout their lives naturally exude a presence that is deeply attractive. Imagine an elderly monk sitting in meditation. His face is marked with lines from years of experience, yet his presence is serene, peaceful, and powerful. Why? Because true beauty is not about tight skin or youthful features, it is about the depth of one's being. A person who has practiced loving kindness, metta, and compassion radiates an energy that others are drawn to. Their beauty is not something fleeting, it is something that grows over time. The confidence and grace that comes with age. Aging is often accompanied by greater self-acceptance and confidence. When we are young, we may constantly seek approval, trying to conform to societal ideals. However, as we grow older, we often realize that true happiness comes from within. Buddhist teachings encourage us to cultivate equanimity, upekkha, a balanced mind that is not easily disturbed by external circumstances. This quality allows older individuals to move through life with grace and wisdom, no longer caught up in the anxieties of youth. Story: The Wise Grandmother and the Seeking Youth. There is a story of a young woman who was obsessed with her beauty and feared aging. She constantly sought treatments and remedies to preserve her youthful glow. One day, she met an elderly grandmother who had a gentle, radiant smile. The young woman asked, "How do you look so beautiful despite your age?" The grandmother replied, "When I was your age, I worried about the same things. But then I realized that each wrinkle was a story of laughter, each gray hair a symbol of wisdom, and each year a gift. My beauty is no longer in my skin but in the love I have given and the lessons I have learned. That is a beauty that never fades." The young woman left with a new perspective, realizing that her focus had been misplaced. True confidence comes not from resisting age but from embracing it with wisdom and love. Letting go of attachment and embracing aging. One of the greatest causes of suffering in life is attachment. If we are attached to our youth, we will inevitably suffer as we age. However, if we understand the nature of impermanence and let go of this attachment, we can age with dignity and joy. A Buddhist monk once said, "If you hold onto a flower too tightly, you will crush it. If you let it be, it will bloom in its own way." The same is true for our lives. If we obsess over preserving youth, we miss the beauty of the present moment. But if we embrace each stage of life fully, we find a new kind of beauty, one that is not bound by age. Practical ways to cultivate inner beauty as you age. To truly embrace aging as a gift, we must cultivate qualities that bring lasting beauty. Here are some ways to do that. Practice mindfulness. By staying present and appreciating each moment, we reduce anxiety about the future and regrets about the past. Cultivate loving kindness. Acts of compassion and generosity make a person more attractive than any physical feature. Find joy in simplicity. As we age, we realize that happiness does not come from external possessions but from peace of mind. Engage in lifelong learning. A curious and open mind remains vibrant regardless of age. Let go of ego. Releasing the need for validation allows us to find deeper contentment and grace. Conclusion: the true gift of aging. In the end, aging is not something to fear, it is something to be honored. Each year brings new wisdom, deeper love, and greater understanding. When we stop clinging to youth and instead embrace the transformation that comes with time, we unlock a kind of beauty that is eternal. The next time you see a wrinkle in the mirror, do not see it as a flaw. See it as a testament to the life you have lived, the joy, the lessons, and the love you have shared. For in the eyes of wisdom, aging is not a loss but a profound and beautiful gift. 5. Love never dies, the continuation of love beyond loss. As we age, we inevitably experience more loss. Loved ones pass away, and we are left with the pain of their absence. However, Buddhist teachings remind us that love is not bound by the physical realm. It continues through the lessons and memories of those who have touched our lives. Story: The Monk and the Memory of His Master. A young monk once lost his teacher, a wise and compassionate master who had guided him for years. Overwhelmed by grief, he asked an elder monk, "How can I continue without my teacher? His presence was everything to me." The elder monk smiled and said, "Close your eyes and listen. Can you hear the wind? Can you feel the warmth of the sun? The teacher is like the wind. His love and wisdom have not disappeared, they are simply flowing through a different form. Every time you act with kindness, remember his guidance. Every time you teach others, his voice speaks through you. The love we share never fades, it transforms and continues." This story beautifully illustrates that even when people leave us physically, their love and influence remain alive in our actions and the kindness we extend to others. Aging as a privilege, not a punishment. It is easy to view aging as a punishment, especially when we focus on loss, physical decline, or societal expectations. However, in Buddhism, aging is seen as a rare and precious privilege, an opportunity to deepen our understanding of life, cultivate wisdom, and develop compassion. The Dalai Lama once said, "The goal is not to live forever, but to create something that does." When we embrace aging with grace and acceptance, we find peace and joy in simply being. Rather than mourning the past, we celebrate the present and the opportunity to pass on love, wisdom, and understanding to future generations. Final thought: the true gift of aging. Aging is not a burden, it is an honor. Each wrinkle, each gray hair, and each passing year is a symbol of a life well lived. When we approach aging with acceptance and gratitude, we no longer fear the passage of time. Instead, we cherish the love, wisdom, and kindness that endure beyond the limits of age. So, the next time you reflect on growing older, remind yourself, aging is not about losing, it is about gaining the wisdom, love, and grace that make life truly beautiful. Finding peace in the flow of life. If we spend our lives fearing the inevitable changes that come with age, we risk missing the profound beauty of simply being present. Instead of resisting the natural rhythm of impermanence, we can learn to move with it, just as a river flows effortlessly to the sea. In the end, it is not the monuments we build or the names we etch into history that define us, but the warmth we bring to the lives of others. The laughter we share, the compassion we extend, the wisdom we pass down, these are the true legacies that live on, even if our names fade into time. Aging is not a punishment, it is a privilege. It is a chance to refine ourselves, to grow in understanding, and to experience the profound beauty of each moment with grace. Instead of fearing what we may lose, let us cherish what we continue to gain: the depth of wisdom, the serenity of acceptance, and the boundless power of love that transcends even time itself. So, let us walk this path of life with open hearts, unafraid of what will be left behind, but fully embracing the beauty of now. Like the river, we do not cling, we simply flow, leaving behind ripples of kindness and wisdom that will continue long after we are gone. Thank you for visiting Buddhist teachings. Click follow to see more content, helping you have a more beautiful and meaningful life.